State of origin, state against state, mate against mate. It's the biggest event on the rugby league calendar. The players, they don't hold back, and the crowd, well, we just love it. But as we settle in for the 100th Origin match, think about how those big hits we crave pay a toll on the body of all rugby league players, representative or not, when their career comes to an end.
Everyone has pains. Like, if you haven't got pains from that kind of sport, like you weren't playing hard, and like all the blokes that I know these days, they've got little niggling injuries, and I think it just comes part and parcel with rugby league.
Brent Sherwin played 11 years at the top level, including 191 games for the Canterbury Bulldogs, leading them as halfback to their 2004 premiership. Like many other players, he has had his fair share of injuries.
Broke my thumb, broke the finger next to it, dislocated a few things, and I broke my fifth metatarsal in my foot 3 times. It just plays up every now and again, and the cold weather doesn't help it, and it's just kind of something I've got used to now.
As a father of 2 small boys, Brent's life has changed dramatically since his footy days. But not a day goes by he doesn't think what the future may hold.
I'm not looking forward to when I'm older, with all the little aches and pains that I'm getting now. So if they get worse, then yeah, I don't know what I'll do. Whatever comes at me, I'll try and deal with it and soldier on, I guess.
The risks of the game have become ever more apparent this season. Much talk is centred on the Alex McKinnon spinal injury suffered in a lifting tackle and the new concussion rules. But while these kinds of injuries are a concern, Dr Nathan Gibbs, current New South Wales team doctor, says injuries suffered week in, week out are having more of an effect than we imagine.
It's a contact sport, and there is a lot of contact. And if you hit a brick wall enough times, hard enough, you'll get hurt, and that's the reality of the game.
According to Dr Gibbs, who works at South Sydney Sports Medicine, football players are accelerating the arthritic processes by continuing to play each week with niggling injuries.
The reality is, for whether it be AFL, but certainly rugby league players, is by mid-40s, most players, nearly all players, will be arthritic somewhere in their body.
Injury statistics from last year suggest that roughly 75% of players suffered an injury that resulted in them missing at least 1 match. This equated to each team on average having 5.5 players unavailable to play first grade each week. Parramatta legend Nathan Highmarsh has spent his fair share of time on the sideline, but in his 2nd year of retirement is feeling better than ever.
Body's starting to mend itself, if you can say that. There's a few bumps and bruises, but other than that, yeah, it's starting to get back to where hopefully it'll remain.
He believes the professionalism of the game today will play a big part in preventing the long-term damage old-era players are dealing with now.
The way the players are looked after these days with physios and chiropractors and doctors, they're in the best capable hands. You know, to look after themselves after footy, and as well to treat the injuries they have now, so down the track they're not as bad.
Ben Ross, former Cronulla and South Sydney player, is no stranger to injury.
I think I was one of the most injured people in rugby league. I was waking up every day sore. So yeah, it's a lot different. I really enjoy retirement now because of that one thing. Even though I miss football, I don't miss that contact of the body and having the pain.
As welfare manager at the Men of League Foundation, he predicts the burden of ongoing injury will only rise in the future.
There's a period now where the game hasn't hardened up to its full potential where it can be. And I think once that changes, even with rehabilitation and all that, there's going to be a lot of injuries still, and it's just people are getting bigger and faster and stronger, like I keep saying, and it's a scary thing.
While the Men of League prepare for what may lie ahead, one thing is for sure, contact in rugby league is unavoidable.
There's a risk in anything you do, and it's more about understanding what the risk is and minimising the risk in terms of administrators and doctors as much as possible, but there will always be a risk.
Rugby league's over 100 years old, and we're only starting to really change the way we tackle now. So off the top of my head, I can't think of any other way to make the game safer.
You got to think it's a contact sport. You're going to get injuries. You just got to kind of just roll with it.
Laura Judd, Secret Men's Business.